What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the SFS channel. My name's Gavin, and today I've got some fantasy football lineup advice for you guys for Week 10 NFL action. I've got 5 wide receivers for you guys to put in your lineups this week and give the start. Before I get into today's video, make sure each and every single one of you guys goes and likes, comments, and subscribes to the channel, and let me know if you guys have any questions down there below as well. I'm happy to answer anything you've got for me, so let me know. Let's hit the intro and get into the 5 players. All right, my first guy on today's list for my must-start wide receivers is Brandin Cooks, the Texans' number 2 wideout on that team. Will Fuller, of course, can be penciled in your lineups as well. But Brandin Cooks is a guy I really like this week in his matchup against the Browns. Cleveland has struggled all season long defending the wide receiver, and their secondary has given up some really big plays. And obviously, Brandin Cooks is a field stretcher, and that's what he excels at. So last week we saw him catch an underneath route. Take that to the house. He's still got that elite speed that he's had his entire career. And Brandin Cooks has really been trending up the last half or so of the season. In his last 4 games, Brandin Cooks has 26 half PPR points against the Jags, 16.5 points against Tennessee, 9.5 against Green Bay, and another 15.5 against Jacksonville for the second time. This is a guy that's clearly on the rise in fantasy right now and needs to be rostered on all teams if he's not in your leagues, and actually deserves starting consideration as well, especially in that wide receiver 2 or flex role. This week, I really like Cooks' upside as well as his floor against Cleveland. Tyler Boyd is a guy who is stepping into that wide receiver 2 must-start category for me. He has been a very productive player this season, and coming off a bye week, Tyler Boyd is currently the wide receiver 15 in PPR scoring, which is excellent for a guy who did not suit up last week, obviously due to the bye. Joe Burrow has proved that he is a legit quarterback in this league, and he airs the ball out a lot. That Bengals defense is not solid, so Cincinnati is always passing, trying to keep up with other opponents. Tyler Boyd looks like Burrow's favorite target this year and a very dependable option. Tyler Boyd this season has had a super safe floor and very nice upside as well. He literally catches almost every pass that comes his way. I watched his highlights against Tennessee, and he was making some ridiculous contested grabs, and in very tight windows, Joe Burrow was fitting the ball into him and giving him opportunities to make plays. Tyler Boyd, I really like him the rest of the season, and this week at Pittsburgh, he has a great opportunity to have another very nice output. Obviously, being the number 1 wide receiver in that offense, I think he's overtaken A.J. Green for that role and deserves that type of respect. The Pittsburgh Steelers have struggled against the pass and defending the wide receiver, so he's got opportunities this week. What Pittsburgh excels at defensively is rushing the passer, plugging up run lanes, and creating turnovers. And honestly, if Joe Burrow turns it over a couple times, that might even help Tyler Boyd's potential this week, because if they fall into a hole, they're going to be passing, trying to get out of that hole. And those boundary corners are the guys that have led up those big plays for Pittsburgh. So I think that gives Tyler Boyd a great opportunity this week and a really nice chance to put up a really nice outing. Like I said, Boyd, a really safe floor play this week and going forward the rest of this year. I think he is in must-start wide receiver 2 territory and needs to be looked at that way by fantasy owners, and he has a really nice ceiling in good matchups as well. The next guy up here who is a must-start wideout for me this week is Robert Woods, the Rams' number 1 wide receiver, in my opinion. I think he is over Cooper Kupp in that offensive role. You can probably pencil Kupp and Woods into that starting spot this week in your lineups at wide receiver 2 or flex, but I decided to feature Robert Woods in this video because I think he has the higher ceiling and the better floor of the 2 in all formats. I think Robert Woods, though, a bit more of a standard play just because he gets those rushing attempts on end arounds, and Cooper Kupp is maybe slightly more of a PPR play due to the underneath routes and volume he gets as a receiver. But Seattle is the 32nd ranked defense at guarding wide receivers, and they give up the most amount of points to opposing wideouts in fantasy this year. So I think Robert Woods has a tremendous ceiling this week. Add in those rushing attempts, and I think he is in for a big day. Seattle historically, over the last 5 to 6 years, has really struggled against the Rams, and the Rams have done a number on them even when they weren't a competitive team. This is just a team that Seattle doesn't match up well against, and they really struggle. I think Russell Wilson is going to have a tough day on the other side of the ball, but I'll get into that in a later episode. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, go start them. Those guys are excellent lineup choices this week and provide very safe floors and high ceilings in Week 10. One thing I want to specify before I get into this next player here, these guys are in no particular order. I just like starting all these guys this week. They have great matchups. I don't have them ranked in a specific way. If you guys have any questions about that, I can dive into that a little bit more in the comment section. So let me know, you guys. But my next guy up here is DJ Chark, the Jags' #1 wide receiver. And on paper, it looks like Green Bay is a stingy matchup for him this week. And I've actually seen some other people put him as a sit player for this week. But I am starting DJ Chark this week because the main reason that Green Bay secondary has been so productive and locked up some really good #1 wideouts is because of Jair Alexander, their top corner. Right now, Jair is dealing with a concussion and has not practiced yet this week. And I think it's very likely that he misses this week's game. I think Green Bay doesn't want to risk it. I don't think they want to bring him with on the road to Jacksonville and have him travel with the team. I expect Jair to take this week off, rest up and recover, and that is going to open up a lot of opportunities for DJ Chark, who is clearly the #1 option for Luton, the new Jags quarterback. The rest of Green Bay's secondary is good, but not great. They've got some okay corners. They've got Kevin King and Josh Jackson, some bigger bodies that they like to put on taller wideouts and man-to-man coverage, but those safeties have not been elite ball hawks this year. And I think for a guy who's a burner like DJ Chark, he's going to have the opportunity to make some big plays happen. I expect James Robinson to have a very productive day on the ground, and that's going to set up some play-action balls. And just like we saw last week, DJ Chark absolutely burned the Texans secondary for a 73-yard score. I think he could be in for something similar again this week. Chark is going to get his looks regardless. He's going to have a productive outing. I expect somewhere between 5 to 10 targets for Chark this week, and we'll see how many of those he can haul in. But obviously, it only takes one for a guy as talented as Chark to break away and score, so I really like his ceiling this week. Chase Claypool is my final guy to go out and start this week in your fantasy lineups at wide receiver, who is not an automatic pencil-in start. Chase Claypool, I just really like the matchup against Cincinnati this week. William Jackson, the top corner for the Bengals this year, is having a very good and underrated season this year. He's having a career year and has been a very, very lockdown corner in the AFC North this season. And I think he deserves his respect, but I actually expect him to be following around Juju Smith-Schuster this week and giving that shadow coverage to him, leaving Chase Claypool to feed on other defensive back matchups. This goes for Deontay Johnson as well. I expect these two to be getting the majority of the looks. I think we're going to see Mason Rudolph this week. Ben Roethlisberger landed on the COVID reserve list, and I think that Deontay Johnson and Mason Rudolph had a connection that they built together last season. I expect that to show up in the game this week if Roethlisberger isn't cleared to go, and I think that Chase Claypool also is going to benefit from having some lighter coverage on him this week. I think another thing that's going to be in play this week, if Mason Rudolph is the starter, is that they're going to stack the box and make things difficult for James Conner if Roethlisberger doesn't go, and they're going to try and make Mason Rudolph beat them. But these wide receivers are so talented, I trust them to beat their coverage, get open, and make plays. So for that reason, Chase Claypool for me is a very solid start this week. Those were my top 5 wide receivers to stream and start in your lineups for Week 10. I really hope you guys are able to take advantage of these matchups and put some of these guys in your lineups this week. I really appreciate each and every single one of you guys for watching this video, and I hope you guys will go down and like this video and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all the support you guys have, and really hope you guys will stick around here on the channel with me as we grow this community and brand together. So, thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Peace out.